Welcome back to Munro Live, and today I'm actually going to open this video with a vehicle that we are not going to talk about. Sandy has made it clear that going forward we only want to deal with the electric future, but he still has a soft spot for things that are saving on cost. And in that, he purchased this vehicle right here. This is actually a vehicle that sells for $7,000. It's just a gas vehicle, it's not electric at all, and it's also not legal on North American roads. What he is really interested in is how were they able to go about making a vehicle that is honestly somewhat stylish, very, very low cost, and be able to have a $7,000 selling price. And I'm using this as an opening to speak of the Ford Maverick, which you will see just outside. So here we're looking at a 2022 Ford Maverick. Now this is not a full electric vehicle, this is a hybrid. One of the employees here at Munro and Associates actually owns one of these, and I was talking to her, and she said for her driving, she can actually average around 44 miles per gallon driving her Maverick back and forth to work. Okay. This selling for $21,000 is impressive. Now, the least amount of money I've ever paid for a brand new vehicle was $18,500, but that was 12 years ago. So it's interesting that even at an entry level, there's not a huge increase in the selling price over the past decade, especially going from I just had a gas vehicle to this being a hybrid with a 44-mile range. It is small, it is basic, but it is clean. I mean, just look at the rims, just painted steel wheels, not very flashy at all. But stepping back and looking at the vehicle as a whole, it's not offensive. It seems like it fits for what it is. So at $21,000, no, you're not getting a big increase in luxury, and you're also not getting a big increase in technology. This is very much a basic truck, a basic vehicle. All of it just direct injection molding, even exposed fasteners, which they've actually stylized those fasteners, but most of the time, styling departments want to hide all fasteners within a vehicle. You have a lot of regular gauges, not as many electronic displays. You have a lot of buttons. It is a very basic vehicle, but it is very low cost. So when I got in this vehicle, the first thing that I was surprised by was this seat. This actually feels wonderful on my lower back. I am very comfortable in this seat. And that was a big surprise to me. When I was looking at the IP, I was looking at the overall profile, and I'm not sure who got there first, but look at this dished, curved surface coming back underneath the display screen. This is the exact same shape and form that is on the Rivian. Now, of course, the Rivian is wood grain. This is just injection molded and painted, but that is the exact same formation that is in the Rivian IP. A lot of standard air vents, a lot of standard buttons throughout. Climate control, stereo, your headlights. If you look at the actual displays, they are actual dials. So you don't have a lot of bells and whistles there. Looking at your door. Injection mold, but with a technical texture. They're not trying to replicate animal grain of leather. We have kind of a faceted diamond shape within this medallion area. It is a fabric wrapped armrest, and then continuing down with the rest is just injection mold. However, it was a very inexpensive injection mold. Look at this parting line edge right here. This is very, very sharp, and you even have what's called flash rubbing off of this part. This is somewhat sharp, so I would be upset about this, and this is actually a cubby area. You can stick stuff back there. So having these sharp edges, that's not really all that great. But again, entry level, low cost. Okay, yes, it is small. I left the front seat in the position that I was comfortable with and decided I was going to get in the back. And at first I said, all right, my knees are tight, but maybe I could live with this. But then I closed the door. I can close it, but this knee is completely trapped. I am trapped between the front of the door and the seat. I don't have enough room with my femur to get out of the way and get behind this seat. So my size of a person would not do well in this back seat. But again, since this is a truck, headroom. I have plenty of headroom. My head hits the headrest. That portion is nice. This, not so much. So you'd have to make the person in the front seat be a little uncomfortable to give some comfort to a bigger person in the rear. So what are we paying for with this vehicle? Well, at $21,000, that's a very inexpensive price just for a commuter, something to get back and forth to work that has no utility. This still has utility. No, it does not have a bunch of electrical ports in the rear. No, this model does not have a bed liner, which I'm certain you could probably get. But $21,000, you're getting a commuter vehicle, which can average 44 mpg, but you're also getting cargo. You're also getting some utility. At that price, this is actually impressive. If we're talking about technology and moving into the future, maybe not so much. But this is something that more of our viewers would actually be able to afford. I know that not everyone is going to go out and buy a $70,000 vehicle. We are more comfortable with a $40,000 vehicle, but at a $21,000 vehicle, you're getting a lot of utility and you're getting at least a 44 mpg range, which again is not full electric, but it's starting to work that direction. Okay, it's not push button. It is a key, but we are on battery power. We'll have to find out how far we're going to be able to go before it turns on the gas engine. And I don't know how apparent that will be. So I have my foot off the gas and I am just coasting. I like being able to coast mostly because I have a very long trip. I can just feather the gas pedal when I need to, or the accelerator if it was a electric vehicle. I find that I actually drive with my foot actually on the accelerator only 25 to 30% of the time. The rest of it, I'm just controlling the coast. That's actually why I don't like the instantaneous regenerative braking, because it forces me to always be applying pressure with my foot. I don't like using cruise control. I don't like having to switch back and forth to cruise control. So I know that you can adjust the regenerative braking on a lot of electric vehicles. And that's something that I just have not had the opportunity to really dive into with a lot of the vehicles that we have been able to review. So I watched as the motor started revving. I went up to 40 mpg estimated, but then now it's switched back to electric. All right, so you'll notice the center screen. All right, right now it just has a clock on it. I don't want to mess with this while I am driving, but it is small. It is angled slightly down, and that might be to avoid glare from the sun. But it also seems kind of dim. Now I do have sunglasses on, but even in lifting my glasses up and down, I'm not seeing much of a difference. So it's not a very bright screen. It's small. It seems to be angled wrong, but again, it may be angled because of washing out during direct sunlight.
You got a little random cubby hole.
Yeah, but I mean, would that cubby hold anything? I think anything you'd stick in there would fall out.
What's the point of it?
more than likely they just had a spot. If they ended up purchasing a screen that was not big enough to fill the space, or if whatever they sourced could not fill the space that they wanted to balance out the vehicle, so basically mirroring across a center line, then maybe that cubby was there just to fill it out. But it doesn't really have any depth to it, so anything I put in there I feel would fall out, especially when you consider how tall it is. If you have something that tall, you would think you'd have a big item sitting in there. So with my hands off of the wheel, it tracks very, very nice. It seems comfortable to drive and control. Of course, there is no self-driving in this.
Could this be your daily commuter?
Yeah. I am comfortable. For me, comfort was the biggest reason why I switched to my sedan. I had a very fuel-efficient economy car, and I bought that when I first started working in southern Michigan, thinking I wanted to be efficient with my trip back and forth to work. After 5 years of that, I said, no, it's not worth it to me. It is not worth my fuel economy. And I took a 25-mile, it was just not worth it for me. I took a 25% hit on my fuel economy to go to a larger, more luxurious vehicle so that I could be comfortable with my long commute. Vehicle development for software is much slower than development for consumer electronics, your smartphone, everything that your smartphone can do. For navigation, I remember purchasing a Garmin to have in my car for navigation. Or you would pay for a GPS package that your car would have, but your car does not update as fast as Google Maps would update. So even though I have navigation in my car, what do I use? I use my phone rather than I use my car. So if my vehicle just gave me connectivity to my phone, allowing me to use all of those phone apps, which have a much wider range than what an in-vehicle app would have, I'm okay with that. I don't have to double up. I don't need 3 different GPS devices. So let's see what happens to my fuel economy on the freeway if I'm actually being a little bit of a jerk. Now look at that, 7 mpg. 10, 16, 18, 19, 20, 54, 52. And now I'm coasting, and I hit 89. So we are in the middle of the freeway and also in the middle of a construction zone, so it's harder for me to talk about a lot of the other features, but I want things to be intuitive in my car. If I'm paying attention in a construction zone on the freeway, I want to easily be able to find what I need. And this is a little stretch for me to get to a coffee cup in the morning. It's kind of outside of my comfortable reach. Having that armrest there blocks me from being able to move my arm farther forward without having to extend it a little differently. I would rather this be a little higher. I don't think that there's a need for it to be so low. There's no other storage that is being enabled by this being so low. But maybe they're saving money on cost of material by cutting the part in half when it could have been taller. So again, being a very low cost, smaller truck, it is not opulent. When we reviewed the Rivian, of course, it's just dripping in luxury. Even the Lightning has a lot of comfortable, luxurious features. This vehicle does not have that. Now, I am very impressed with the seat. I'm really impressed with how comfortable I am in the seat. But both armrests leave something to be desired. The armrest on the door, very short, very small, does not really provide enough support for me. Taller guy, I wish it was up a little higher. The armrest on the center console, it hits my elbow, and maybe that's what's really important. It's a little rear, but I have my arm free to try and reach down to pick up that cup holder. And I realized I got off at the wrong exit. Well, let's look through a few of the additional features, and let's start with storage. All right, on the center cluster, there is a small storage bin up top. Okay. Whenever I am presented with a storage bin, I try and say, what am I going to put there? What am I going to put there? Not really sure. Lots of things that you have on the dash. You have a radar scanner. Some people, you would have your camera. Well, you really wouldn't have your camera in a bin. It would be up a little higher. So I'm not really sure what you're putting in that bin. We've already talked about this bin on the side. Having something that's that tall, that narrow with no depth, again, I don't know what you're putting there if it's meant for storage at all. Coming down through the center cluster. All right. Perfect area for a phone. I can't see it while I'm driving. It's kind of far away. It seems like it was made for it. There is this divider breaking up this section into two distinct areas. Question is why? What is that divider actually doing? I guess the answer is not much. We're coming over some sort of a feature. So what am I putting there? Phone, maybe change. Cup holders, another little storage bin. If this vehicle did not actually require the key in an ignition, that is normally where I would store that if I had to. All right. So the bins are there. How practical they are, really not sure. It is a vinyl wrapped center console, which seems funny that that's the only piece of vinyl in the vehicle. Since we have vinyl wrap, we have fabric seats, we have fabric door, and then the rest is all injection molded in color. Looking at the colors of the interior, or the materials of the interior. This is an injection molded part, but if you actually look at the grain, it mimics a weave of fabric. Like, okay. Coming down from that, we have this painted area. I'm certain that this is painted, although it might just be molded in color. This has basically a sandblast texture in their tool, so it gives it a matte finish. Continuing down, we have the fabric weave again, and then just a stipple grain going through the rest. So we have basically 3 to maybe even 4 different types of material grains in this vehicle. I'm not opposed to that. It doesn't need to be the exact same grain, exact same color across the vehicle. That gives you a breakup and gives you a style difference. So I'm okay with that. We talk about fit and finish. Let's look at our A-pillars a little bit. This front portion of the A-pillar is injection mold. Now on the passenger side of the vehicle, you see a nice tight line up at the top between that A-pillar and the headliner. Nice, clean join. Look at the driver's side. We have this big gap that just sticks right out at you. It is not fitting properly. Those things happen. It happens in a lot of vehicles. It's kind of hard to control. So if you're a buyer, and if you're a buyer who's only spending $21,000, is that little gap something you'd complain about? I wouldn't. It actually, let's go ahead and get out. All right, getting out of this vehicle, a couple last observations. The entire time I was driving, my left knee was on this hard piece of plastic. I was using that as a rest. Some vehicles have had actually sharp protuberances there that my knee was hitting. This vehicle's not. It's actually quite flat. It wasn't uncomfortable, but that might get uncomfortable on long trips. Grabbing the handle, the function of this handle, I mean, I'm using my fingers to pull it towards me. It's kind of an odd angle to grab and release, but there's also a parting line edge in the injection mold right here. So this entire upper edge is sharp. So it seems funny to be grabbing a sharp edge to get out of the vehicle. So notice that I was mentioning the fit and finish of that A-pillar to the headliner. Notice that the A-pillar has actually caught up on the weather seal. Now that weather seal may partially be pushing it out. Not sure if I was able to pop any of it out to get it to fit a little bit better, but those are things that happen in the production process. There's a buildup of that material in. Better. They would call that finesse on the line. People have to actually go through and work all of those joints. Whether they have the time to do it or not on this vehicle, who knows? So the question comes up, would I buy this? And would I buy this if I was comparing it to the Bolt? All right, $21,000. I think the Bolt now has lowered their price from when we did our initial review. So let's say that one's around $27,000 to $30,000. The Bolt is full electric. So would I care about being full electric over being a hybrid enough to spend the extra money for the Bolt? But then now what about function and utility? I am much more comfortable sitting in this seat than I was sitting in the Bolt. The Bolt had some nicer features on the interior than this has. This has a larger cargo area in comparison to the Bolt. So I'm getting a lot more utility. I'm sacrificing that I'm not full electric, but I'm still getting good range. I'm getting a more comfortable interior, but a less opulent interior from the Bolt. And it's $8,000 less. If I was buying a vehicle at this level, yes, I would buy this. And then I would change the seating. I would upgrade that, which is kind of funny because you're probably going to spend around $3,000, $4,000 going aftermarket to get nice seat covers. Whether that's worth it over the time that you would own a vehicle, I try to own all of my vehicles at least 7 years. So that might be worth it for me. Whether it's worth it to you, it's up for you to decide. But I was actually kind of impressed with this. At this price, it is small, but it has a lot going for it. So thank you for watching Munro Live. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe. There are more videos coming. We're going to try and branch out into more different types of vehicles or different manufacturers. So hope you can see and watch I hope you stick around to watch the future videos. Have a good day.